Greetings, mortals. It is I, Luther, here with another episode of Tapes of the Lost. Tonight, the world turns against us. New killers, new cults, new myths. Just the raw, merciless power of nature, unleashed, uncaring, and caught on camera. These are the worst disasters ever caught on film.
It began with a tremor. On December 26, 2004, a 9.1 magnitude earthquake struck deep beneath the Indian Ocean. It lasted 8 minutes, one of the most powerful quakes in recorded history. But the quake wasn't what killed nearly 230,000 people. What came after did. The tsunami hit without warning. First, the sea pulled back, revealing a bone-white ocean floor. Tourists wandered out, laughing, filming. Children chased fish through sand that should have been buried underwater. Then came the sound, like a jet engine tearing the world in half. And then, the wall, 30 feet high, black, silent, relentless. Entire cities in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and India were obliterated. Streets turned to rivers, hotels to tombs, airports to morgues. Families gone in a blink. Survivors described bodies hanging from trees, cars floating like toys, the air stinking of salt, death, and fuel. One camcorder, found days later, captured a tourist standing on a balcony. She laughs, points. The wave rises behind her, swallowing the frame. The footage ends with a splash. This wasn't a monster. It wasn't a war. It was Earth blinking. And the silence that followed was louder than the wave. At first, it looked peaceful. Just a mountain. Still, silent, smoking. But on May 18th, 1980, at 8:32 a.m., Mount St. Helens exploded, and the sky turned black. The eruption wasn't upward. It was sideways, with the force of 500 atomic bombs. A massive landslide triggered the largest debris avalanche ever recorded, flattening 230 square miles of forest in seconds. Trees vaporized. Animals flash boiled. The landscape was erased. Photographer Robert Landsberg was there, too close to escape. When the ash cloud roared toward him, he didn't run. He rewound his film, placed the camera in his backpack, laid on top of it. When rescuers found his body, they recovered his final photographs, the last moments of Earth before it turned to hell. The death toll was 57, but the damage was apocalyptic. Rivers choked with mud. The sun blotted out. Entire lakes boiled. Survivors crawled through falling ash, unable to breathe, eyes burning, the ground shaking beneath them. And on video, you can watch it all. The trees snapping, the silence breaking. The moment the mountain screamed, this wasn't just an eruption. It was a warning. March 11th, 2011, a Friday afternoon in Japan. At 2:46 p.m., a 9.0 magnitude earthquake struck off the northeast coast, the most powerful quake to ever hit Japan. Buildings swayed in Tokyo, hundreds of miles from the epicenter. But the real terror was still coming. The ocean pulled back, and then it rose. A tsunami up to 130 feet tall smashed into the coastline at over 400 miles per hour. Entire towns were lifted off the ground. Homes, cars, ships, people, all swept away like ants under a faucet. Surveillance footage shows water creeping across roads, faster and faster, until it crashes through glass storefronts like a living monster. A man films from a rooftop as the sea eats the city. He doesn't speak, just trembles. In the chaos, Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant lost power. Backup systems failed. Reactors overheated, meltdowns, explosions, radiation. The triple disaster killed nearly 20,000 people. Thousands more are still missing, and the land around Fukushima may never be lived in again. It wasn't just nature, it was nature breaking every rule. It was the sea saying, "You forgot who's in charge." April 25th, 2015, clear skies over Kathmandu. At 11:56 a.m., the earth ripped open. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck Nepal, shaking the Himalayas to their core. Entire villages vanished. Temples that stood for over 600 years crumbled to dust in seconds. The quake was captured in horrifying detail. Dash cams, security footage, cell phones. A tourist films a group of monks mid-prayer. The camera jolts, screams, statues fall. Stone pillars crash around them as they run for their lives. Another video shows a wedding ceremony. Joy turns to panic. The walls split. Chandeliers swing. Guests flee as the building begins to collapse around them. The worst hit, the Durbar Square, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, reduced to rubble. The Langtang Valley, buried under a landslide so massive it erased the map. And Mount Everest shook. An avalanche slammed into base camp. Climbers were thrown like dolls. 18 people died instantly. More than 9,000 lives lost. Hundreds of thousands injured. Entire families buried alive beneath their homes. And every second of it was caught on film. This wasn't the end of the world, but for tens of thousands, it might as well have been. September 19th, 1985, 7:19 a.m., Mexico City was just waking up. Then the earth screamed. A magnitude 8.0 earthquake struck with no warning. It lasted nearly 2 minutes, long enough to turn mourning into massacre. Cameras were rolling across the city. Newsrooms shook mid-broadcast. A reporter screams as lights explode above her. In another frame, a building collapses like wet cardboard behind a frozen, panicked crowd. Entire hospitals caved in. A 15-story apartment complex crumpled with hundreds still inside. But the dead weren't the only story. The miracle rescues were. In the days after, citizens, not soldiers, formed human chains, digging through concrete with their bare hands. They pulled babies from rubble, children from collapsed schools. One survivor, a newborn, was found 7 days later, still alive in the ruins of a hospital. More than 10,000 people died. Officially, some say it was closer to 30,000. The government lied. The people rose. It wasn't just the earth that cracked, it was the system. And in that dust and ruin, Mexico found its voice. May 6th, 1937, Lakehurst, New Jersey. A gray spring day. Crowds gathered on the ground, watching the sky fill with the shadow of a giant. The Hindenburg, a luxury airship, 804 feet long, held aloft by over 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen. A flying hotel, elegant, quiet, and deadly. It had crossed the Atlantic in style. Passengers drank wine, ate steak, smoked cigars in a floating lounge suspended in the sky. As it approached for landing, cameras rolled, reporters waited, and then a spark. The fire began near the tail. It raced across the skin in seconds. The sky turned orange, steel bent. Screams rose. The Hindenburg folded and crashed, burning as it fell. Newsreel crews captured the horror in real time. Radio announcer Herbert Morrison's voice cracked in agony. Oh, the humanity. 36 died. Dozens more were scorched alive. Some leapt from the cabin. Broken legs, burned lungs. A few survived. Most did not. The cause is still debated. Was it sabotage? Static? Just fate? But the footage remains. A symbol. A warning. One moment it ruled the skies. The next, it was raining fire on the crowd below.
You saw the wave, the ash, the fire, the wind, the stone, the scream, and then the sky fell. These were not the inventions of men, not ghosts, not demons, but something worse. The world itself, angry, violent, and unrelenting. Each of these moments was captured in real time, filmed, broadcast, etched into history. Not fiction, not rumor, just death on loop. Like, subscribe, and remember, when the earth moves, the skies fall or the seas rise, you won't have time to run. You'll only have time to record.